As reports of HMP virus in China continue to grab global headlines, fear and confusion are spreading much faster than the virus itself. To separate the fact from the fiction, I have with me Dr. Shekhar Mande, former Director General of Council of Scientific and Industrial Research and currently Distinguished Professor at Savitribai Phule Pune University. Thank you, Dr. Shekhar, for joining us. Doctor, you must have read today that various states in India have reported several cases saying that first case of HMP virus, second case of HMP virus in Bangalore, Gujarat, and other states. So, how do you read these findings?
I think simply reporting that there are HMP virus cases is kind of sensationalization, because this is a very routine infection that happens during winters all around the world. This virus has been around with us for a very long time. It was for the first time isolated in the Netherlands in 2001. But simply because it has been with us for such a long time, and every year people do get HMP infections, people have developed some sort of immunity against the virus. So there is really no need to panic or report cases of HMP virus. I mean, you don't report, for example, somebody catches cold or cough, right? There's so many people today got cold.
So, what is the reason that this has been blown out of proportion? If this was such a simple virus, then why are we talking about it? I mean, why world is talking about it?
So what happened was, in China, a certain number of cases were reported recently, right? And because SARS-CoV-2 or the COVID-19 pandemic started from China, from the Wuhan market, and because China is reporting once again a few cases of HMP, people are worried whether are we going to see similar pandemic-like situation or not. There's general fear amongst people that we have seen the pandemic and we know how bad the pandemic can be. And therefore, there is some kind of anxiety in people's mind, but that anxiety is rather unfounded.
Right. Dr. Mande, you were leading CSIR at the time of COVID outbreak. So, according to you, what should be the strategy of Indian government right now? As we have seen that government has continuously released statements saying that there is no reason to panic. HMPV was always around us; it was already circulating, etc., etc. So, according to you, what should be the strategy? They have upped their ante, surveillance is up, and everything. Uh, uh, they are taking the stock of the medicines, etc. So, according to you, what should be the strategy of the government, considering that there is so much panic, at least around, because of the global news and the distressing visuals that are coming from China?
So, government has done the correct thing. Various state governments have issued statements saying that there is no need to panic. It's a very routine infection that happens every year, just like when we get cold and cough, right? The cold and cough during winter that you get can be because of variety of different reasons. It could be because of common cold virus, what we call also as rhinovirus. It could be because of influenza, or it could be because of HMPV. And therefore, there is no need to worry. And government is actually trying to tell people that please don't panic, please don't worry. Apart from that, if really the cases go up, government even last time was fully aware and fully ready to prepare any kind of contingency situation. But in this case, such a contingency will not arise.
So, is there any particular set of individuals who need to take care of themselves? As we have been reading that this particular virus can be lethal for small children, children below 5 years, and people with compromised immune system.
Yeah, lethal or not, we'll not talk about, but generally children and elderly people above the age of 65, or those with low immunity or what we call as immunocompromised, are more susceptible than others. But that doesn't mean necessarily that they would catch the infection, and does not mean necessarily that they are the ones who would be hospitalized or might actually die of the infection. That doesn't mean that at all. So even if children below 5 or people above 65 get it, they may get little bit of more severe kind of an infection in their lower respiratory tract or so on and so forth. But there's no need to worry.
Okay. So again, coming back to my first question, what are the chances of HMPV creating the next pandemic?
Very, very unlikely. The thing is, HMPV has been around for a long time, and pandemics generally are caused by a new virus, a virus which we have not seen earlier. For example, SARS-CoV-2 was a completely new virus that humanity had not seen earlier. And therefore, no human being had a prior immunity against the virus. Well, HMPV has been around for a long time, and therefore, all of us have some kind of immunity against the virus. We must have had HMPV infection in the past, and therefore, our body is probable that our body has antibodies against HMPV already. And therefore, a pandemic caused by HMV is very, very, very unlikely.
Is there any chance of genetic mutation? I have been reading that, this can only cause a pandemic if there are mutations in the virus and all of that. So, does that happen often? Mutations?
Mutations do often happen. Viruses are very notorious in undergoing mutations. We have seen in SARS-CoV-2 case, and we have seen it also many other viruses like influenza or HIV and all, that they do mutate, but what kind of mutations are required to cause a pandemic are a very, very large number of mutations, very often changing the overall character of the virus itself. So pandemics are caused by viruses which are hugely different than what we have seen in the past. And that's not the case in HMPV at this case.
Okay, so before I let you go, for our viewers, what are the precautions that, these vulnerable set of people should take?
Precautions are standard. Very common precautions like when we get common cold, when we sneeze or when you cough, we always try to cover our mouth, preferably with a handkerchief or something. We keep washing our hands so that our hands don't get contaminated. So we wash with soap for at least 20 seconds. Usually, people who have cough and cold, we always recommend them to stay at home so that they don't pass that infection to others. Cough and cold because of any other reason, not necessarily HMPV. So people generally should isolate themselves, and it typically takes about 3 to 5 to 7 days to recover completely from that particular infection. So till that time, the infection is gone, people should really isolate themselves. So these are the common kind of precautions that people should observe.
So, Dr. Mande has made this very clear that we cannot equate HMPV with SARS-CoV-2 virus, and that's such a relief, Dr. Mande. Thank you so much for such information. Thank you so much.